Go home tonight and look at your local news. You know what you're not going to see? A gray hair anchor woman. Because a woman with gray hair on the news shows feebleness, oldness, weakness. So she has to dye her hair every week in order to keep her job. And the saddest is you take a man with gray hair that shows wisdom, distinction, and it's not a fair world. It's not.
Well, that was comedian and apparent fortune teller Deon Cole. He was spot on in the Netflix 2017 special, The Stand-Ups, when it comes to the changing face of mainstream media. Just take the recent firing of longtime Canadian news anchor Lisa LaFlame. She was terminated after a 35-year career at CTV after a top executive reportedly questioned her decision to let her hair go gray. Now, officially, management cited changing viewer habits as their justification. And while sexism in the workplace is sadly not new, it does point to a larger conversation about the changes in how, where, when, and from whom we choose to get our news. Joining me now is Angelo Carusone. He's president of Media Matters. Alzo Slade, my friend, he's a correspondent at Vice. Roland Martin, he's host of the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show. And Michelle Lee, making her cross-connection debut. She's an anchor at NBC St. Louis affiliate KSDK TV. Angelo, I want to start with you because honestly, we are in an age where younger people tend to want their news and information in 30 seconds or less with an aesthetic filter. I'm just curious to hear from you. What do you see as the future of news? Because this really is a very rapidly changing landscape that I think we're all trying to figure out as content creators, providers, journalists, and consumers.
Yeah, I mean, I think one, I would start with just the basic stats, which are that 80% of people that identify as millennial and Gen Z say they consume news every single day, which is great. That means that they're interested, they identify news, they see it as an important part of their civic responsibility. On the other hand, when you dig down a little bit, 71% of them say that their news is their social media feed. So I don't think they don't see journalists as news. They see any kind of stream of information coming to them as news. And I think if you want the clearest example of what news will look like in the future, I think it's how the LGBT community recently dealt with monkeypox, right? That was an example where the rest of the news media as a whole didn't do a very good job of articulating the threat, explaining to people who needed to be concerned about it first, what they needed to do about it, and what happened. Individuals online helped establish the credibility around a threat. Then they all began to identify how you go ahead and respond to it. And there was sort of organic centers of gravity moving through that information chain. And I think that's going to be a lot what the future looks like, because the truth is the rest of the news media right now is sort of decaying or really evaporating. I mean, we've lost so many journalists that that to me is the real concern, that there's not processed good information getting into those information pipelines.
Yeah, and I think as the demographics of the country change, Michelle, which you have certainly experienced personally, people are going to have to get used to different faces. You know, the times are changing, so you might see somebody delivering news who has neck tattoos, or our attire is going to change. Everyone's not going to be in a cardigan and pearls, and every face is not going to be a white man. Michelle, the Asian American Pacific Islander community is the fastest growing community in this country, yet they are the least represented in newsrooms across this country. Just curious your thoughts on where you see the changing face of news as we, navigate the changing demographics of America.
Right. Well, I think that there is definitely a reckoning when it comes to racial diversity within newsrooms, also ethnic and religious backgrounds as well. I mean, because the truth is we all have the right to we all deserve the right to bring our full humanity to our spaces. I always say I'm a journalist for everyone, but if you can market me as a mom and as a woman, then you can also market me as an Asian person living in this community. And Asian people are everywhere, right? And so when we looked at like AAJA, Asian American Journalists Association data, they found that in the top 20 markets, we were so underrepresented in the news. And I will just say, in my personal experience, I've had so many news directors say to me, or agents or hiring managers, oh, we can't have two of you because it might confuse the viewer. I mean, literally would not apply at jobs because there might be two Asian anchors. I mean, this is just, 10 years ago. Or, you're going to have to move to the West Coast because that's where you'll really shine as an Asian American. I mean, me being from the Midwest, I knew that Asian Americans lived in the Midwest and thrive in the Midwest. We have history in the Midwest. And so I definitely think that people have to open their minds and listen to the folks who can be a representative of all voices within their communities. Times need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Alzo, I wanted you here because I think you're a great example of that change. You look like, people I know. And I think when people see themselves reflected on screen, they're more likely to take information from you. So, Alzo, tell me about working at Vice and what it means to be a part of the changing landscape of news for you.
Yeah, I think mainstream media can take a few cues from the music industry when they were being stubborn about, adopting, this digital landscape in order to sell records. And the idea that, we are still looking to, the old school format of people at a desk giving us the news straight like Walter Cronkite, I think that's a bit antiquated. I think there's still some cachet there, but there are a number of people who are in the streets, documenting, what's happening in their local communities via social media, and people are paying attention to it. And so just like back in the day when artists were selling music out of the back of their trunk because they couldn't get attention from the major record labels, then, I think that's a cue that they should take.